it goes. Cool. Let's make sure we live. There it goes. All right. All right. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Chiefsman's Corner Live. I'm your host, one of the commissioners of the WFL, Coach Winuvas of the New Orleans Saints. This week's going to be a little bit oddball because we're going live a day later than normal. I was out of town yesterday. I was enjoying a relaxing day. I teach at a community college and we're on spring break, so the wife and I and father-in-law went down for a nice day on the coast and went and lost some money at a casino. So that's why the show is a day later than normal. The game plan tonight is going to be, we're going to talk the WFL playoff pictures as we hit week 13. We still have a couple of games left in week 12, but we'll talk some more playoffs. It's kind of ironed out a little bit from the last time we did a broadcast. And then we're, for a good bit of this podcast, or as much as we have listeners or whatever for, we're going to talk something we normally don't talk about, real life NFL. Because real life NFL kind of went Madden this offseason. There's been a lot of trades, a lot of releases, a lot of signings that are kind of crazy for the beginning of the league year. So we're going to talk a little bit of real life NFL and go over some high notes. And if you're on listening, you can go ahead and shoot me some chat in YouTube chat, and we can talk about your team or what your team didn't do right or did right. Hopefully, if you are listening, welcome aboard. Thank you for listening. If you're watching the recording of this, feel free to drop some comments in the comment section below about what you feel like your team could have done better in real life NFL. If you're looking forward to using your favorite team in Madden 23 or not, we'll see what happens tomorrow as to whether or not I'm going to be one of those people, because I might have Deshaun Watson or I might not. I don't know. If you're listening and you hear some background noise, it's my cats playing in the background. I have a bunch of them, so sorry. I do want to get some housekeeping notes out of the way. It's kind of the same things we've been talking about the last couple of podcasts. First thing we want to talk about is the WFL's incentive plan. This plan allows you to get some perks that aren't available for every member simply by doing some extracurricular activities that involve the WFL. Anything from using a Twitter account to writing articles on the Neon Sports site we use to commenting or participating on this show. Anything that makes WFL a more immersive experience and increases its presence in the Madden community earns you some sort of credit. A link to the incentive plan will be provided in the description below and is available using Couchbox commands in Discord. The next thing, which I mentioned in the last podcast, is our end of season survey. As we said, we're getting to the end of week 12. We'll have 18 weeks, so we'll probably another week or two before we hit playoffs. And these weeks can go by pretty quickly, so I want to mention it again on this show. Every season in the WFL, we do a survey where we ask owners to fill out. That's completely voluntary, but it does earn you incentive points. I like to mention that I'm the only one that reads any of the feedback given. I don't share it with any other WFL leadership. It's something that basically is between you submitting it and me. And I respond to every survey in Discord via DM. I want to make sure that your opinion is heard every season, even if it isn't favorable to WFL. My quote job is to make sure the WFL is the best league it can be. And sometimes that means having tough conversations about what we don't do well. But overall, the survey is a good thing for everyone in the league because it shows that your feedback matters. With that out of the way, let's come in and let me drop in the. There it goes. Okay, I was like, where did it go for a second? All right, so as you can see, the game of the week was a blowout of the Washington football team / Commanders. Won 38-6 over the Giants. We won't go into detail about that, but let's look first at, with a couple of games left to play in Week 12, a very interesting race in the AFC. First off, we have Cincinnati, who is technically the 1 seed with a 7-4 record, but I feel like the Chargers will probably creep up there into the number 1 spot going into Week 13. They're 8-3-1. Indianapolis leads the AFC South at 7-4, and Buffalo leads a very tight AFC East at 6-4. Your wild cards right now are Denver in the AFC West at 7-4, New England at 6-4 from the AFC East, and Pittsburgh 6-4 from the AFC North. And on the bubble, you have Miami at 6-4-1, you have Houston at 6-6, and you have the Jets at 5-6. So still a lot to play for. You have every AFC East team currently in the mix at some form or venture. Yeah, the Jets are still lagging behind at 5-6, but I think Coach Kobe has kind of caught on to his team and how we play as far as our sliders and whatnot. I think he's getting that team rolling at the right time, which is, well, at the end going into the playoffs. So an interesting race there. Cincinnati's kind of fallen off a little bit. Coach Hurt's kind of been MIA for a couple of weeks with some personal stuff. Hopefully he gets all that situated and settled. Hopefully everything's working well for him and his loved ones. So he's been out with that. So hopefully that clears up and for a good outcome for him. But that's pretty much the AFC at this point. The NFC, however, pretty top heavy. You have Washington at 10-1. You have the Green Bay Packers close behind at 9-3 in the 2 spot from the NFC North. The 49ers roll in at 7-3. Another team that's been kind of MIA the last couple of weeks with some personal stuff. Hopefully he gets his stuff together as well in a good way. Atlanta is rolling in the NFC South at 6-5. The Giants at 8-3 are a wild card team right now, which is just ridiculous. That's a stacked top of the NFC East, and Chicago rolls in at 6-4 at the 6th seed, and Arizona 6-5 at the 7th seed. And on the bubble, you have Dallas sitting there at 5-5. You have Tampa Bay 5-6, and you have Carolina at 5-6. You'll notice I'm no longer there because I don't deserve to be, but that's besides the point. A very tight race there for the bottom end, but the top end, the class of the NFC right now is Washington and Green Bay. Green Bay being led by Aaron Rodgers and Washington being led by, I believe, Carson Wentz at this point, which is kind of weird because that kind of mimics real life, which kind of leads me to my next point as I come back off of this. I'm going to go straight into the NFL has been wild. This season, this off season has been one of the most tumultuous I've seen in a very long time in real life. We kind of jokingly, want Madden to replicate real life NFL, and it's not been the greatest at doing that over the last couple of years. But as far as the off season stuff, the last couple of seasons, man, the NFL's taken notes from Madden because there have been some wild stuff going on. And I'm going to bring up some of it right now, just to kind of hit on some high notes. And then one of the ones that's not even on my note sheet, which, by the way, the note sheet I got, Coach Polio of the Vikings provided that to me, and I appreciate it greatly because, as I said, been on spring break and also traveling yesterday and today. Really didn't have a whole lot of time to get together a whole lot of preparation, which is why you don't see a whole lot of WFL stuff. He threw me together a list of stuff from NFL.com, I believe, of free agency moves and trades and things of that nature. So I appreciate that contribution, Coach Polio. He knows he's been around for a while with me, just about since the start of original WFL, so he knows he's appreciated. So just want to give him a shout out right there. But it's been wild. Just to hit some high notes. And I'm gonna go through the list he made and cherry pick what I want to talk about. The Bills getting Von Miller on a 6-year, $120 million contract with $51 million in guarantees. That is just ridiculous for a guy who honestly had a really good playoff series, or I say playoff series, a good playoff run with the Rams, getting another ring with the Rams. So just a phenomenal player. Looks like he's found the fountain of youth at age 33 as an edge rusher. That's unheard of to have the kind of production he had, especially in the playoffs. He seemed to have found some life once Denver traded him, and I thought maybe he might go back to Denver, just kind of a not really for anything other than maybe just he wanted to go back home, quote home. But it looks like the Bills have got him up, and the Bills are now going to be with Sean McDermott as their head coach. That's just going to be ridiculous to have that kind of edge rush talent there on the outside going into next season. The AFC East just got a lot scarier as far as pass rush goes. Offensive linemen should be looking out, especially teams like Miami that have struggled to get offensive linemen into the fold. Speaking of Miami, they pick up a solid backup in Teddy Bridgewater, which I was kind of hoping he might sign a contract with the Saints, but the Saints have spent pretty much their entire offseason playing pretend cap, making cap dollars disappear and kicking the can down the road. I feel fairly certain that by the time we get to like 2025, we're going to be paying like 50% of our cap to players that have been retired for 30 years or have not been on our team for 30 years. So the end, the Saints dynasty, quote unquote, is going to be on the downhill, and when it hits, it's going to hit hard unless something happens as far as changing cap rules. But I'm digressing a little bit. Dolphins, Teddy Bridgewater signs to be back up to Tua Tagovailoa. They pick up a couple of running backs in Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert's a nice one, decent little speed back, but I feel like he's kind of a one-trick pony. He's kind of like more of a receiving back. Chase Edmonds, we'll see if he can maybe do some heavier lifting there in Miami, because Miami's running back room is wide open. I think the only guy they had returning was Myles Gaskin. And they re-signed Emmanuel Ogbah to a 4-year deal, $65.4 million, but edge rushers are a commodity, and the dude has been pretty solid. I looked at some stats on him, and based on his positioning in the draft as far as where he was picked, that's a really good deal for him. But trust me when I say that the craziness is definitely not over here in the AFC East by any stretch. Patriots re-signed Devin McCourty. They also, I believe, traded Shaq Mason to the Bucks for some small compensation from what I remember reading. I was plug and plug for the last 36 hours, and a lot of this stuff went down in the last 36 hours. So forgive me if I do miss some stuff. One that hurts me as a Saints fan, Marcus Williams going out and signing a 5-year, $70 million deal with the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens get themselves a hella good safety in Marcus Williams. I think Saints fans held a grudge against him for the miracle, the Minneapolis miracle, where he basically decided he was going to tackle the ground and just one bad defensive lapse. Unfortunately, is going to dog his Saints career. But he was a really, really good, above average to almost elite level safety for the Saints, and the Ravens are getting a good safety there in Marcus Williams. Bengals are picking up some offensive linemen. On my notes, they have Alex Kappa. I know they're picking up somebody else, I believe, from the Bucks. I cannot remember the name. It might be Alex Kappa, actually. So if somebody's online, they can correct me. If not, they can correct me in the comments, because I'm not up to date on all 32 teams. But Steelers, I do like these moves. I know they cut Joe Schobert to make room for Miles Jack, who was cut by the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jacksonville Jaguars, why you cut Miles Jack, I have no clue. He's still young. He's still in his prime. He led the team in tackles. I guess I don't know what they're thinking. They've signed a lot of they've signed a lot of big dollar contracts in Jacksonville. I don't know how this is going to turn out with Doug Peterson as their new coach. But I do like what the Steelers get. They get Miles Jack. They get an athletic guy that kind of replaces what they lost in Ryan Shazier a couple years ago, granted. But with him and I believe Devin White or Devin Bush. Devin Bush is on the Bucks. Devin White is the Steelers linebacker. That gives them a really athletic middle linebacker duo in the middle, and then you put T.J. Watt on that outside corner. That's a nasty threesome of linebackers to have to deal with on an in-out basis if you're in the AFC North or AFC North. Browns, oh boy, the Browns. They pissed off Baker Mayfield, but Baker Mayfield, I'm kind of, I'm not I'm not sold on Baker Mayfield. Oh, one guy I didn't mention for the Steelers before I jump on the Browns bandwagon and slap around Baker Mayfield. I like the signing of Mitchell Trubisky. I think Mitch got a bad rap in Chicago because his coach was awful. Matt Nagy was horrible. If there are any Matt Nagy supporters, good luck. I mean, because he's gone now. You don't have to support him anymore. You don't have to pretend you support him if you're a Chicago fan. Mitch, I think, got a bad rap because he got picked above, Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. That's never going to look good. But I mean, there are plenty of guys that got picked above their station and went on to have solid careers. I think Mitchell Trubisky is going to be one of those guys, especially in Pittsburgh. They have a good system. They have a good, if faltering offensive line. They'll have Najee Harris. They have Chase Claypool. They have some weapons there, and maybe they're looking for a little bit more mobility and more, an option-based attack like what they see in Baltimore. And I think Mitchell Trubisky can run that type of attack if they build the offense well around him and give him structure. But back to the Browns. They pick up Amari Cooper, which I do like. I don't like that they made Baker Mayfield mad. I don't think he's an elite quarterback. He is a top 15 quarterback. I'd probably say he's in the 11 to 15 class as far as quarterbacks, which in this day and age, you can't knock that. But making him mad and him requesting a trade, obviously they're not going to acquiesce to that, but I feel like that's going to be in the Deshaun Watson style of basically organization and quarterback going to be mad at each other. Quarterback's going to sit out, and they're just going to sit him until they find a trade partner that's willing to accept it, or they just let his contract run out, one or the other, because he is due after this year. He's done. The Texans are making news because Deshaun Watson, as soon as he got cleared of criminal charges, all of a sudden now he's potentially a New Orleans Saint, an Atlanta Falcon, or the Panthers were in it and they got out of it. So the Panthers aren't in it. The Browns aren't in it anymore. So it looks like it's a two-horse race. I honestly, if it were me, I think what's going to ultimately happen, and I don't think this has happened as of yet, so if I'm saying something wrong, I'll find out in the morning. I honestly think that based on his history, I think Deshaun Watson ends up ultimately, quote, picking Atlanta. I think Atlanta is kind of a team on the rise. They got some young pieces around, and unfortunately, Matt Ryan's not good enough to go through a rebuild with that Falcons team. He needs to go to a place that's contending now. I think ultimately what happens is either Watson ends up picking the Falcons and getting traded to the Falcons for some picks. And then what will happen is that Matt Ryan will either get cut or Matt Ryan will get traded for low compensation to a team like I could see him going to Indy. I could see him going to, not Washington anymore. I'm trying to think where else he might go. Would be interesting if he went to New Orleans. That would be crazy. But I don't know if that would be something Matt Ryan would want to do, but that would be something I could see Matt Ryan doing if we still had Sean Payton as a coach. But anyway, the Texans are kind of holding everything up with the Deshaun Watson trade. The Colts made some noise by getting defensive end Yannick Ngakoue from the Las Vegas Raiders in exchange for cornerback Rock Ya-Sin. So they get some edge rush help that they desperately needed. They definitely needed some guys that could get out and get pressure on the edge. We'll talk about the Raiders and all the AFC West here in a little bit because they just went freaking crazy. The Jaguars basically overpaid a lot of guys because they have to, because they're the Jaguars. They're horrible. Really overpaid Zay Jones. 3 years, basically $8 million per for a guy that's basically a number 4 wide receiver. Christian Kirk, overpaid. He's a solid number 2, probably better number 3, but solid number 2. But you don't pay a solid number 2 like 15, 4 years, 72. That's about 471. That's 18 mil per. Whew, that's rough. That's rough. Evan Ingram, from what I understand from Giants fans, he was injury prone and not great in the locker room. So You got him for a 1-year deal, so you can kind of try him out, see if he maybe puts his head on right for you and can be healthy. And Brandon Scherf, another guy that's been injury prone over the last couple of years. Elite talent when he's healthy, but he has not been healthy lately, and sometimes availability is just as important as being good. But I do like that Scherf signing if he stays healthy, because O-line is always good to protect Trevor Lawrence. And they're giving weapons for Trevor Lawrence, so you can't knock them for that, but they are definitely overpaying for those weapons. So, and understandably so, they're the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yeah, this is the craziest offseason. That is absolutely true. It is truly nuts, and we haven't even got to the good stuff yet. Titans. I have listed that they re-signed Harold Landry, which is a good signing. They get him 5 years, $87.5 million. But again, edge rush is a commodity in today's NFL. Edge rush, cornerback, and obviously quarterback are commodities that you have to have if you want to contend in today's NFL. Harold Landry is a really good edge rusher. They also cut Julio Jones, so it's basically I think Ryan Tannehill is still the quarterback. Who does Ryan Tannehill throw to at this point? Because he's got A.J. Brown and basically a cast of characters that probably you couldn't name out of a lineup. And that leads us to the craziness that is the AFC West. If you're a Denver Broncos fan, if you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan, if you are a Las Vegas Raiders fan, if you are a Los Angeles Chargers fan, I'm so proud I said Los Angeles Chargers there. Y'all done lost y'all's mind. What happened? Y'all went crazy. First off, Broncos. You finally get your Peyton Manning Part 2. At least this time this guy's younger. You get Russell Wilson. You traded a ton for him. I'm okay with the 2 first-round picks. Russell Wilson's worth that. I understand the 2 second-rounders. I actually understand all the picks. What I don't like you trading is you traded Noah Fant, who is a first-round tight end. I would, unless that had to be the deal-breaker, quote-unquote, that could have been a nice weapon for you to build around. I guess you're figuring maybe he's running out of his rookie contract and you don't want to re-sign him for what he's going to want, which I can understand. But that's a really nice piece that Russell Wilson could use. And Russell Wilson goes from having the worst offensive line in football to one of the better ones in football. He's got to be on cloud 9 right now. But not just that. You guys went out and got Randy Gregory, who's also a good edge rusher. Signed him away from the Cowboys, in fact. 5 years, $70 million. Again, edge rushers make a lot of money in this game. The Chiefs, well, first off, they have Patrick Mahomes. They have Travis Kelce. They have Tyreek Hill. They have an offense. And what do? You go out and you replace Tyrann Mathieu, who I believe is rumored, or if he's not signed with the Bucs, he's rumored to sign with the Bucs. You're replacing one of the better safeties out there on the market in Justin Reed from the Houston Texans. 3 years, $31 million. Younger, not quite as coverage savvy and aggressive as Tyrann Mathieu, but overall a good top-tier safety to bolster that secondary. Again, just basically bolster the secondary and hope that the offense can outscore guys. And then the Las Vegas Raiders. Oh, my goodness. Y'all done went crazy. First off, Devontae Adams for a first and a second. That's a steal. 5-year contract he signed for the Las Vegas Raiders. That's still a steal. I don't care how old he is. I believe he's 30. That's a steal. You get the best receiver in the NFL for a first and second round pick, and you sign him to a 5-year deal. That's a steal. Then you sign one of the better draft picks you made in the last couple of years, Max Crosby at edge. 4-year. I love the number 98.98 because his number is 98. That's creative. I like that. You also go and get Chandler Jones out of free agency, and you pick up Rock Ya-Sin by trading Yannick Ngakoue. So you get rid of a guy that was kind of meh. I never really understood the appeal around Yannick Ngakoue personally. I've never seen him lighted up on tape, except maybe a game or two where he has a phenomenal game. Max Crosby's done it year in, year out. I love that extension. Chandler Jones has done it year in and year out. He's getting older, I will give you that, but him on the other side of Crosby, that's ridiculous. And then you get a potential number 1 corner. I feel like right now he's a number 2 right now, but you get a potential number one corner in Rock Ya-Sin, former, I believe, second round pick of the Colts. Maybe first round, but I know second, at least no more than second round pick. That the Raiders just went crazy. And then the Chargers. Oh, you know what? Let's do this. How about we go get the best corner in free agency in J.C. Jackson and sign him to a 5-year deal? Oh, look at that. Oh, hey, Khalil Mack wants to come over? Let's put him on the other side of Joey Bosa. We'll trade for, like, piddling picks. Now, they are eating his contract, and he is older. I believe he's 32 at this point. But you just know Khalil Mack is going to be circling and penciling in those games against the Raiders and just going to be licking his chops to make them regret ever trading him to the Bears in the first place. That's going to be a great thing. I like that trade for the Chargers. And then you re-sign Mike Williams. Hold on a second. Ooh. That's what happens when you have a live show. You have cats start acting a fool, and then you have to kind of just whoop them. So they're trying to mess with one of my little ones. So I messed around with the camera a little bit. There we go. Sorry about the jostle there, guys. Alrighty. So where was I? Mike Williams. You get him back. You got Justin Herbert. You've got Eckler. You've got a lot of weapons on that offense, and you just bolster the defense that much more. If the Chargers can stay healthy. That's been their big problem the last couple of years. They just can't stay healthy. If they stay healthy, they're going to be that entire. You could easily see with the 7-team format now, as far as playoffs go, the entire AFC West can make it. AFC West can make it. You have 3 wild cards from the AFC West and then the champ. I mean, that's not out of the realm of possibility. They're that good. So that's going to be. I have a feeling we're going to have a lot of suddenly Chargers, Raiders, Chiefs, and oh, crap, 4th team. Broncos. Oh, God, I forgot the Broncos. I have a feeling we're going to have a lot of new fans to those 4 teams coming into Madden 23. The Cowboys lost a ton, but they were in cap hell. Unfortunately, signing Dak Prescott to that nice contract and Ezekiel Elliott is coming back to bite him in the booty. They did franchise tag Dalton Schultz. They did re-sign Michael Gallup after moving on from Amari Cooper to a 5-year, $57.5 million deal. I believe he's coming off injury, though, so that might be something to watch. And they did sign one of their edge rushers, DeMarcus Lawrence, back to a 3-year deal. So that is something to note. Eagles, I like this deal, picking up Hassan Reddick. I think a change of scenery from Arizona, where he was drafted, to Carolina really helped. And I think his true thing is edge rusher. He is a really good edge rusher. He was in college. I think Arizona tried to make him more of a coverage guy, and really just that was not a fit. They tried to move him to middle linebacker, wasn't a fit. He's an edge rusher. He gets after the quarterback, and that's what Carolina put him in, and that's what he does well. So him getting that 3-year, basically $15 million per year deal, I like that for the Eagles. Carson Wentz moves on from Indy and becomes the quarterback of the Washington Commanders. Basically swapping for essentially what could amount to as high as a 2nd-round pick. It's an interesting deal. This is Wentz's 3rd team now in as many seasons. And I really thought Wentz would find a home in Indy because he was back with his former offensive coordinator, Frank Reich, who basically got him that MVP season in 2019. He looked like he had a good start to the year and then kind of just faltered down the stretch. And I think ultimately just kind of lost the love of leadership. And once he lost the love of leadership, he became expendable. So that's really tough. He is back. He can kind of get some revenge on the Eagles twice a year now as the Commanders quarterback. And hopefully he kind of finds that groove there with Ron Rivera. Ron Rivera's been looking for a quarterback since he's been the Commanders' head coach. Hopefully his guy is Carson Wentz. I do like Carson Wentz's game if he can stay healthy, but he does have to eliminate the stupidity factor as far as just having brain farts and just trying to do too much. He needs to play within himself, and hopefully he can there in Washington with the Commanders. J.D. McKissick also re-signs there. Nice 3rd down back pickup for the Commanders there as well. Bears signed Larry Ogunjobi, interior defensive lineman. Can get after the pass rush, or can get some pass rush there from the interior a little bit. Lions get DJ Chark on a 1-year deal. I do like that for the Lions. Give a weapon. Get a weapon to go with Amon-Ra St. Brown, who was kind of a flash there for the Detroit Lions this past year, and TJ Hawkinson. Get some weapons for Jared Goff and give him a full year of evaluation with those weapons. I will say he's not worth the number 1 pick overall in the draft he was in. But to be fair, in that particular draft, I didn't think any quarterback was worth a first-round pick, much less number 1 overall. But Goff can be a top 15 quarterback in this league. He got the Rams to a Super Bowl not that long ago with weapons all around him and with good coaching. I think with good coaching and weapons around him, I think he can be that successful again. And I think he can take Detroit at least to respectability. Maybe not to playoffs, but at least to respectability. And I really, really like Dan Campbell as head coach. I don't know how he'll stick. He's got an old school mentality that's a lot different from today's NFL coaches. But I will say this, it looks like his players are willing to run through a brick wall for him, and there's something to be said for that type of effort and intensity as far as translating to wins. I really think the Lions could be a bounce-back team. I'm not saying they're going to be playoffs. I'm not even saying they might not even get to 500, but if they can get to like 5 wins, 6 wins, I mean, that's because you're starting from nothing after Patricia. Patricia just scorched earth the Lions. But Dan Campbell's trying to get that team back to respectability. And I think he can. I think Jared Goff can be a guy that can at least bridge you to a future quarterback. Maybe you draft one in this draft and let him sit behind Goff a year or two and then throw him into the fire. Or maybe you trade for one like Jordan Love or something. Big thing about the Packers, they traded Devontae Adams. They signed Aaron Rodgers. I don't know who Aaron Rodgers is throwing to, but they did get a decent haul for Devontae Adams. They picked up Preston Smith. They let go of Zadarius Smith. I don't know how I feel about that. I think Zadarius ended up ultimately signing with the Ravens, but I don't know if that contract actually got finalized or not. Vikings pick up Jordan Hicks, formerly of the Arizona Cardinals. And in the AFC or NFC South, the Falcons pick up cornerback Casey Hayward. That's a nice slot corner pickup for the Falcons. Always nice to have corners in the NFC South, especially with Tom Brady coming back. Yay! Panthers pick up Austin Corbett at guard and Xavier Woods at safety. I like Xavier Woods at safety. Good, solid safety help, but Matt Rule needs to prove he belongs in the NFL. I personally didn't like that hiring when they made it. I'm hoping he proves me wrong, but we'll see. Sam Darnold was not the answer, unless the question was, is he a bad quarterback? Yes. So we'll see if they are officially out of the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. They may draft a quarterback, or they may even try and see about getting like Matt Ryan if he ultimately gets cut, if Deshaun Watson becomes an Atlanta Falcon. We'll see. The only note for my team, the Saints, is they managed to somehow go from $47 million over the cap to $30 million under the cap. That alone is just worth just me saying that. But they did sign a safety from the Jets, Marcus May, to a 3-year deal. I like that. It's obviously a downgrade from Marcus Williams, but it's not that big of a downgrade. And I think Marcus May might be able to do more in Allen's type of defense, which Dennis Allen is still going to be our defensive coordinator / head coach. So I think May might be better suited to Allen's scheme. Not saying that Williams wasn't good in his scheme, but I think May might be better suited. Buccaneers, the Jackass is back. 23rd NFL season for Tom Brady. Yay. I'm sure everybody's excited about that. They did get Shaq Mason from the Patriots for a 5th-round pick. That's just a giveaway. You just gave an all-pro guard for a 5th-round pick. Obviously, Bill Belichick, I think, might be losing his sanity. Chris Godwin has signed a contract, so that brings Chris Godwin back in the mix. They're talking to Tyrann Mathieu. I have a feeling the Bucs are going to try and basically bring as many people back from the Super Bowl winning team 2 years ago and from the Super Bowl contending team this past season, and just try and run it back and see if they can get another one before Tom Brady really just calls it. So, man, that's just couldn't have stayed retired, Tom. You couldn't just stay gone. Just stay gone. Nobody wanted you back. The Cardinals, their big thing was they they re-signed Zach Ertz at tight end, 3 years, $31 million. I like that signing. I think he ends his career in the desert there. He had a good career in Philadelphia with the Eagles. He had a solid season last year in a kind of a more run and gun style offense there in Arizona. James Conner, cancer survivor, tough SOB. Signs a 3-year contract there with Arizona as well. Good solid power back. I think he fits that style of offense rather well, running out of those pistol shotgun sets a lot. He's a big power back, can run over people. Not a super fast guy, but a guy that can run over folks. The Rams, holy crap, what are they doing in their receiver room? They picked up Allen Robinson. Love that pickup. But somebody's getting cut, or somebody's getting released, or somebody's getting traded. You got Cooper Kupp. He's not going anywhere. You got Allen Robinson. I don't think he's going anywhere. He just signed. Robert Woods, is he on the way out? Is Odell Beckham on the way out? I know Odell Beckham would like to kind of come back with this team, I feel like, but it's going to be tough to get in there, especially after a second ACL injury. I could see Odell maybe either getting traded for a low-end pick to somebody that needs wide receiver help, or getting cut outright, which is kind of sad. But he did get a ring, technically, and he was performing well in the Super Bowl before he got hurt, sadly. And then they also signed tackle Joe Noteboom, who was basically, I believe, their right tackle this past year. He'll probably swing over to left now that Andrew Whitworth retired. And then the Seahawks, they're undergoing a massive. This is the definition of a rebuild right here. You basically trade Russell Wilson, all-pro quarterback, and you let go of all-pro linebacker Bobby Wagner on the same day. That's got to be a great day. You basically now have a 70-year-old coach in Pete Carroll, who I love him. He's been great in Seattle. I think he's about done. I feel like a lot of the concepts he brought in and kind of got going with Seattle have started to kind of go their course, and I think he has as well, but he's going to try and stick it out with this rebuild at this point. I do like the Noah Fant get for them. I think that's a good weapon for whoever their quarterback is, which at this point is Drew Lock. I do like Drew Lock. I think if somebody can rein in his gunslinger mentality a little bit, I think he could be a good quarterback. Probably thinking top 20-ish. Not top 15, maybe top 20, but I mean, if you're in the top 32, you're a starter in this league. I also like the re-signing of Quandre Diggs on a 3-year, $40 million deal, so that's pretty good as well. So yeah, that pretty much covers most of free agency. But free agency as a whole has been ridiculous this offseason. It's really been Madden-esque, if for lack of a better description. All these things of wheeling and dealing just feel absolutely crazy right now. And you wonder, let me get my picture out of the way. You just wonder why all of a sudden, I don't know if they're changing cap rules or whatnot, but it just feels like suddenly, like my team was $50 million over cap basically. Now they're $30 million under. It's like, how? What? Huh? I realize they're kicking the can down the road, and I realize that's part of it, but man, at some point you've got to just suddenly look in the mirror and realize, like for my team, like I'm pretty much of the mindset that we need rebuild. We need to just go rebuild. But unfortunately, you got Marshawn Lattimore there in New Orleans, that's 26. You got Kamara, who's 27. You've got a lot of young offensive linemen. You got Michael Thomas, who's 29 at this point, and has had injury issues the last couple of years. So, like, for my team, it's just like, man, it hurts, but it's like I think it's about time to rip the Band-Aid off and just let these cap hits just bite us in the booty, and we'll be playing basically practice squad guys because we won't be able to afford anybody else. Loomis has done a great job with the cap, but like I think Loomis is probably about ready to hit the A2. He's been there just as long as Peyton was. Peyton went away this offseason. Dennis Allen, I'm not crazy about. I really, really wish, from the Saints' perspective, I really wish they'd have gone another offensive mind. Bieniemy, if he was available and interviewed well. Just any offensive mind, because that would have been a perfect replacement. Because Dennis Allen, I think, is a really good DC. I think he's a good defensive. I think he's one of those guys that's a really good coordinator. He's not a good head coach. I hope he proves me wrong. I hope he does, because in his time in Oakland / Los Angeles with the Raiders, he didn't do very well. Maybe he learned from that. I hope he learned from that. But in today's NFL, you need an offensive mind. If you look at all the good, to go no further than the Super Bowl. You have the Rams playing the Bengals. Golly, I completely brain farted on who the other team was. I almost said Chiefs. I'm like, no, that's 2 years ago. Rams and Bengals. Sean McVay, young, hot offensive mind, and Zach Taylor, I believe is his name. Zach Taylor, yeah. Also McVay assistant. But hot, young offensive mind. I would have been, if he would have wanted to, I would have said go get Joe Brady, the guy that coached up Burrow at LSU. I don't know how he would have done as an NFL head coach, but just some young offensive mind would have been, I feel like, a better fit than let Dennis Allen just coach the defense and bring in a young offensive mind to kind of get this offense back up and running. But anyway, that's just my 2 cents on the Saints. So I don't see anybody else with questions or anything, but so I'm just going to go ahead and go to the outro here and say that appreciate you listening, whether it's now or whether it's the recording of this once I get it uploaded. Always appreciate anybody listening. Give it a like, give it a subscribe if you're interested. Our channel hosts a lot of different things, all of it revolving around our league in the WFL. So please check it out. We got stuff for everybody as far as their Madden fix. Tune in next time. We will be back on the Wednesday schedule next week. Be Wednesday at 10 or 11 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 Central. And that's going to do it for today's show. Hopefully you enjoyed the talk about free agency. Hopefully you talked, the little bit of talk we did about WFL was enjoyable, but NFL talk had to rule this particular week because it's just been nuts. So appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate you watching. And until next Wednesday, the corner is closed.